Megamaniacs! This is Mr. MegaManFan, and I'm here to talk to you about the latest updates to the Switch Online service for Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Famicom, and Super Famicom. So if you have all four on your Switch, you've got quite a lot to go through today. Now, we're going to start with Rygar, which is common to both the Famicom and Nintendo updates of the Switch Online service. Incidentally, if you don't have the Famicom or Super Famicom Switch Online service, it's easy to download and works in all regions. You just need to set up a Japanese profile the first time to download it, but then you can use your regular profile after that. I assume for Japanese users the same is true as well. Create an English profile, download the Nintendo and Super Nintendo versions, vice versa, everything the same. So Rygar is considered to be something of a classic from the Nintendo era, although the slowdown when there are multiple sprites on the screen like this is really severe. But the gameplay itself is fun. You traverse these wide plateaus and vertical areas, and you have multiple enemies to deal with on the screen, and you're on a quest of sorts, and that's about to be explained by the guy I meet in the middle of the tree here. Or perhaps it's a cave, I don't know. But you'll hear a very familiar melody when you talk to him. But we move on to the Super Nintendo update. And this is the much bigger one of the two if you're only using the North American versions of the Switch Online service. 3 games were added to it today: Operation Logic Bomb, Panel de Pon, and Wild Guns, with Panel de Pon being in common with both the Super Famicom and Super Nintendo update. So we'll start with Operation Logic Bomb. Curiously, even though this game came out in both territories, it was only added to the North American version of Super Nintendo Switch Online today. So Super Famicom users, you might want to download that if you're not already using it if you want to play this game, which was known in Japan as Ikari no Yosai, the Fortress of Fury. Now, as you can see from the gameplay, it's a top-down perspective with weapons that you might find familiar to a Contra game. It's kind of a cross between Smash TV and Contra, I would say. The spread gun is my favorite in any Contra-style game or any shooter game in general. And it's a bit of a puzzle solver in that you can't progress to certain areas unless you destroy certain enemies, like the one that apparently is affecting the electricity to this whole building. Once I destroy him, the electric generators turn back on, the lights come on, and progression can continue. So it's a bit of a run and gun, but a bit of a puzzle solver at the same time. I like the combination. As for the plot, not that it's really important to the gameplay, but I'll tell you anyway. A group of people have joint ambitions to establish an unprecedented scientific theory. They call it the crystalline substance transfer theory in dimensional physics. This helped to accomplish rapid progress. The fear of leaks of confidential material is a huge expense the leaders could not possibly afford. As a result, all of the research was done on expansive grounds in a nationally sponsored facility. However, because the near future also demands practical research, the people lost contact with the scientists at the facility, and of course, chaos ensued. Now here we have Panel de Pon, which got remade for North America as Tetris Attack, but curiously enough, they didn't release Tetris Attack. They released the original version in Japanese with the elves instead of the Tetris Attack theme, so make of that what you will. It also got another re-release on Game Boy Color with a Pokemon theme splashed onto it, so this game has been recycled quite a bit. I even have a Nintendo DS game called Professor Henry Hatsworth, and it's got kind of a cross between a platforming game and a match 3 puzzle game like this combined together into one game, and it's quite hard at times, but also quite addictive. If you know Tetris Attack, if you know the Pokemon Puzzle League, then you know this game. Finally, we have Wild Guns, which is as ridiculously hard as it is fun. I'm not very good unless I'm like just super hyper focused. Like making a video and telling you about all of these updates is not the time to be doing my very best at Wild Guns, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go and play it on your own because as Super Nintendo games go, it's a classic. And also because it's a classic, it's quite expensive. So having it available in Switch Online is quite a blessing. You can choose your protagonist from either Annie or Clint, and you can battle these Wild West cyber terrorists, I guess I would call them. They have guns and ammo and tanks and robots and machines, so it's a shootout in the Old West, except in the far future. However you want to make sense of that, feel free to go ahead. But Wild Guns was so good and so beloved that it actually got remastered as Wild Guns Reloaded for PS4, Windows, and Nintendo Switch. So that too is a game that's definitely worthy of your attention if you get the chance. But it can be brutally hard at times. I guess that's the advantage of Switch Online is you can pause, save, rewind. You can find ways to tackle Wild Guns. Switching over now to the Famicom update, we have two games that have been added. One is, of course, the Japanese version of Rygar. Different title logo, different graphic, same game, same gameplay. There's really not much to discuss about it beyond that, so we're going to move on to something that wasn't in the Famicom update until now. They called it Rough World, and you know this game because we already got it in North America. It's actually Journey to Silius. Yes, you will recognize everything in this opening intro cutscene. It's about Jay McRae and his father, and he's working to defeat the terrorists that are responsible for his father's death. Many people will remember from other videos, if not, I will tell you for the first time, Journey to Silius was intended to be a port for a Terminator game on Nintendo, but Sunsoft lost their Terminator license and had to make this into a completely different game, and they came up with Journey of Silius on the fly. So it didn't suffer for losing the license. Some might even argue that it became a better game and a more original game as a result. But to me, the one thing that if you've never played Journey to Silius that you should know right away is that it's very Contra when you start. No spread gun, mind you, but you're running from left to right. You have to drop down onto your belly to hit enemies that are at the surface level, or you can shoot enemies that are at a higher level by jumping up and aiming your fire in line horizontally with them. You're going to experience very Contra things as you move across the screen from one side to the other. The weapon, the fact that bombs are shooting up into the air and falling down towards you, the multiple different enemies in multiple locations, the fact that they can come from behind as well as ahead of you, it's going to feel very familiar to you, and it's really a high quality game. Whether you call it Rough World or you call it Journey to Silius, this one is another that I would say is a Nintendo classic. So why it wasn't in the Famicom version of the Switch Online service, I don't know. They've made some very interesting choices about what to include and not include in each territory's release for their Switch Online service. But I'm covering all four of them for you here today. So we'll get to Super Famicom in just a second. It's hard to put down Journey to Silius. It's actually a very addictive game. It's just stupidly fun. Finally, Super Famicom. They got two games in today's update. The previously discussed Panel de Pawn, which was remade here for Tetris Attack, but they also got Super Punch-Out, which we've had in the North American version for a long time now. So, again, Curious things are afoot when it comes to what they add to which service in which region and why. They may have started out having basically the same set of games at launch, but they have deviated quite a bit in when each region gets what ever since then. But anyway, that's all the games that came out today. I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.